Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Math for Today. Today we are going to be working with fractions. I am going to start with today's target. I can represent fractions greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1 using pictorial models. So, boys and girls, before you started watching this video, you should have watched the vocabulary video on fractions to give you a further understanding of what we're going to be learning for today and for this unit in general. So, what's really important to understand is that fractions are used to help divide things up evenly. So, for example, in the real world, let's take an extra large pizza. Now, let's say you have a party and you want to make sure that your friends have the equal size and same amount of pizza slices so that it makes it fair. So, in order for that, a pizza has to be cut and divided into equal pieces. And in order for that to happen, that's where fractions can come in. So, now with that little introduction, we're now going to go right into how we are going to solve fractions for today's lesson. Let's go ahead and start with number 1. Now, number 1. Show 2 red counters and 6 yellow counters. And that's exactly what I've already did before the video. We have 2 red and 6 yellow. Now it says, write a fraction for the part that is red and the part that is yellow by answering 2 to 6. Okay, so we've already done the first part. Let's go ahead right into it. So number 2, how many counters are there in all? So we want to know how many counters there are total. So we have 2 red plus, so 2 red plus 6. How many counters is that in total, boys and girls? That would be 8. 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 counters total. Very good. Now, let's go ahead for number 3. How many of the counters are red? Well, let's take a look. 1, 2. All right, 2 are red. Now, this is important, boys and girls, understanding what numbers go where when it comes to a fraction. So, as you can see, fractions are written with a number on top divided by a line and then a number on the bottom. So, the number on the top is going to represent the number of counters that are red. Boys and girls, how many counters are red? 2. So we're going to put the number 2 right here in this little box. Okay. Now, right underneath, the total number of counters. Boys and girls, how many were there all together? The amount of counters. 8. So, boys and girls, really important to understand. So, the top number is usually going to be called the numerator. So that is the number that always goes on top. The part that is either sometimes shaded or that's how many is left over, depends on how the question is written down. Now, the bottom number is always going to be called the denominator. Now, the denominator basically tells you how many there are all together, total, no matter what, okay? So that is what the bottom number represents. So the way that we would say this number is that we would say 2 in word form, 2, and on the bottom we would say 8. 2 eighths of the group of counters is red. Because how many counters are red, boys and girls? 2. So that's why we write 2 on the top, and that is why we write 2 first when we're explaining a fraction. And then the total, we have a total of 8 counters, so that is why we would say eighths. So the fraction for how many red counters are right here, we would say 2 eighths. And that's how you solve that, boys and girls. Now, notice, the first part, 1 through 4, this is the focus guide of the lesson. Now, and if you were to read back up here, Now we're into the guided part of the lesson. So boys and girls, you should have already printed this piece of paper out so that you can follow along with me and fill out the pieces that are missing to the questions, so that this will further help you understand what it is you're going to be doing when you're going to be doing number 13 through 18 by yourself in Schoology. So make sure that you have this printed out, because now you're going to continue following along with me for questions 5 through 12. Here we go. Now, we are still using these counters. So, number 5. How many of the counters are yellow? Boys and girls, how many are yellow? 6. Very good. So we're going to write 6 right here. What fraction of the counters are yellow? Now, again, just like what we did with the red, we're going to split it into an actual fraction. Now, boys and girls, did the total number of counters change from this problem? No. So, our total number is 8 still. Okay? Now the numerator. Number of counters that are yellow. How many are yellow, boys and girls? 6. Very good. Putting 6 right here. Excellent. Okay. Remember, the top number is called the numerator. The bottom number is called the denominator. This will never change. These are the rules. This is how it is. Okay? So remember, the bottom number, the denominator, tells us what is total in the group, the picture, whatever that we are working with. And the top number is the specific shaded part we are talking about. So then in word form, how we're going to be doing this over here. So the top number is 6. And then just like what we did right here, how many total? 8. So we would say this is 6/8 of the group of counters is yellow. Okay? Very good, boys and girls. Okay, now that is how we solved this pictorial model right here. Now we're transitioning. Going down here to 7 through 9. Show a group of counters with 5, 6 red by answering 7 to 9. So, boys and girls, let's break this down. They are saying that the counters right here, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 total. That's our denominator. 6 is the total amount of counters, okay? Now, the question is telling us that 5 of these 6 are red. So, you're going to follow along with me, boys and girls. We're going to color 5 of the 6. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Just going to quickly shade it in. Okay? So that you can visually see how these counters are represented in fraction form. So, let's go back to the question now. How many counters do you need in all? Boys and girls, how many do we need in all? Look at the denominator. 6. Very good. How many of the counters need to be red? How many are red? Looking back at our question, how many? 5. And then show the counters and color below to match. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red. 1, we don't know what color it is, so we're just going to leave it as is. But we have a total of 6. Using these pictures, boys and girls, is going to help you further understand how fractions are organized and how they work, okay? Let's continue on, because we're going to work up to question 12 from the directions it told us. Okay, here we go. More directions. We always read the directions before we solve anything. Now, write the fraction for the shaded parts of each set. Now, boys and girls, you're going to watch me, okay, and you're going to follow along. I'm going to make a line right here because there's a line that separates the numerator from the denominator, the top and bottom numbers. So, How many total do we have here of triangles? 1, 2, 3. Total. We have 3 total. That goes on the bottom. How many are shaded? Okay. 1, 2. 2 are colored in. And that means that goes on the top. Because boys and girls, it tells us shaded parts of each set. The questions will specifically tell you if you are going to be counting the shaded parts or the non-shaded parts. Right here, it told us that the shaded parts of the triangles, which was 2, needs to be in the numerator. So boys and girls, for number 10, 2/3 is what is shaded of this group of triangles. And that is the fraction for this picture. Let's look at number 11. How many total moons do we see? We see 2. That goes on the bottom. How many are shaded? 1. You could say the best way to say 1/2 is half. This means half. Half of the moons are shaded. Because we are back to this question. Write the fraction for the shaded parts of each set. This is one set. This is another set. And so on. Okay? So for this problem, 1/2 is this picture. Last one, and then the rest you're going to be on your own, boys and girls. How many flowers do we see total? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 flowers total. How many of those flowers are shaded? 1, 2, 3. That goes on top. So boys and girls, the way we would say this fraction is 3/4. So 3/4 of these flowers are colored. Okay, boys and girls. So this is how you write a fraction, understanding the shaded part goes on top, the total amount goes on the bottom. Okay? Now, in Schoology, you're going to go off on your own and complete questions 13 through 18 on your own. Remember that Mrs. Strasbaugh is available from 9 to 9:30 to help you if you still are not sure of how to solve these problems. You can always go back and rewatch this video as well. It has been a pleasure teaching you, boys and girls, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!